I know I keep saying this is a really important topic, but we're going to talk about if you were to choose one word to define abuse, we're going to talk about that. Before we do that, I want to back up for a second, because I know many of you watching this video, you know you were abused. They know.
Absolutely.
But I know there are some, like myself, when I first realized something had happened, using the word abuse is a little
really
frightening.
hard.
Yeah.
Really hard.
And, for me, it just was a little inappropriate. And I know there are people that are going to struggle with this. So this is why I think talking about defining it, and I know we're not going to be defining it, but what is the one word, if you were going to be defining it, what is that?
Well, actually, I think I do want to define it.
Do it.
I think I do. Yes, there's so much to this topic that we're going to try to make very condensed. But I really want to reiterate what Kathleen says. Some of you are just saying, all I know is I hurt. All I know is that whatever's happening in my religious institution, my church, my synagogue, whatever, is hurting me so bad. Okay, so now we get to this thing. Is it abuse? And I think that's a really important question.
Yeah.
So I'm just restating what you said. It's a hard thing to get to a lot of times for people. Okay, so I want to read a definition that I wrote. This is my definition. It's one of my areas of specialty. So I've written this definition. It's a little bit long, but it feels so important to talk about what is the one thing that defines spiritual abuse. And it's going to be in here, so hold on. By definition, any abuse, any type of abuse, sexual, physical, domestic violence, whatever. By definition, any abuse consists of some type of, here's the two words, power differential, where one person has more power than the other and hurts the other person with that power. Okay, so that's the first part. This is true of spiritual abuse. This power can be perceived or real. This power can be held by one religious person, a small or large group of religious people, or the implicit rules of the whole religious organization. Now, here's important. The abusive person or institution has some sort of power that the abused person does not have, and uses that power to manipulate, control, hurt, exploit, suppress, silence, or weaken the other person. There's the definition.
Right. So the word is
power differential.
Two words.
It's the one word, the one. Well, I think the title of this is the one thing. the one thing. It's two words. Don't get picky on us. Okay, so got power differential.
What is that?
It is where one person has more power than the other one, or the institution, as this says. So, can I give you some examples?
Please.
Because it's a little abstract sometimes. Okay, so we've got, for instance, from my background, let's look at a pastor.
Okay.
A pastor, a preacher, a minister, whatever we want to call them, a rabbi, a priest, or,
Right. Someone in sort of authority.
In an authority that's overseeing a group of religious people. That's the really easy one.
Sure.
That person has more power.
And everybody knows it.
Everybody knows it. They're the leader. Everybody knows it. And that's not bad.
Right.
Power in and of itself is not bad or wrong.
Yes.
But it's where that person takes their power and misuses it, is the definition of abuse. And in a religious context, the definition of religious abuse.
Right.
So there's one example. A pastor, priest, a Sunday school teacher, a church authority, an elder, whatever we're going to call them. That's one example of somebody who has authority over another person. They're the leader. They're the teacher.
Right.
Okay, so another one is age difference. You've got an 18-year-old and a 45-year-old. There is a power differential there, all things being equal. I mean, always these are all things being equal, but there's a power difference there. The other one is gender. And this might get a little touchy, but in most conservative circles, men have more power than women. You don't see a lot of women senior pastors in...
True.
And you don't see a lot of women Sunday school teachers teaching mixed groups. So, okay, there's a power differential. When I step into a conservative church, I understand implicitly that the men have more power than I do. It just is.
Right.
Not putting right or wrong on this. I'm just saying it is.
Right.
So, another one is more education or knowledge. That's another example. Knowledge is power. And so, when someone comes in, okay, for instance, a pastor, he's got his doctorate in ministry somewhere, or his doctorate in theology. And he comes in and says, here is what God says. Here is what the Bible says. Here's what the Holy Books say. Whatever he's saying, he's got this education. Who am I to question?
Right.
Who am I?
Right.
So There's the education end. Just a powerful personality has power. Somebody who comes in gangbusters and everybody else kind of goes, whoa, okay, whatever they want. And there's those. Those are a few illustrations of power differential.
I want to back up just for a second because I forgot to ask you this when you were talking about gender and male and female. Are you saying that because there are men in authority and power, they are then intrinsically abusive?
No. Where women have no power, it is fertile ground for oppression and abuse. It's not implicit that the men are abusive, but that power is fertile ground if there isn't a good distribution.
So we're going to be going into this more in depth in your course, Religious Abuse Recovery Essentials, about this fertile ground, power differential, how that can create a place for abuse to occur.
Yes.
So we hope that you join us.
There's so much more to this, and so many more illustrations of power differential.
Yes.
So yes, hope you join us.